Chris, that was a slog for a lot of it. How big was just Ant's physicality in the third quarter and kind of starting to bring some aggressiveness that way?
Well, he took the Jackson matchup and basically shut his water off. Did a great job turning the game around both ends of the floor in the third. When we got down, 10 or whatever it was. Really, it was all about, his effort on defense setting the tone, and then we were able to kind of catch a rhythm on offense for the first time. So.
Was that him asking for it? Was that you putting him on?
No, I mean, he asked for it. He actually asked for it a little bit earlier in the game, but I was, wanted to just throw as many bodies at him as we could. It was too easy for him. He's a heck of a player, but we had to get up underneath him. And Ant was, excellent at that.
His strength, even at giving up size, is that what kind of keyed that? Yeah, I mean,
it's incredibly strong, as you know. But it's literally, get up, put his body on him, make him feel you. I thought we gave him too much room to operate. He's got too much skill. He can eat up that space you give him, and then he's coming at you, he lunges at your chest, and he plays off your body, and he's just outstanding finisher with great length. So you got to take away his runway, and Ant was able to do that. So.
Feels like, at least for spurts, he's probably your best on-ball defender anytime. How do you determine, like in certain games and whatnot, when to deploy him on the other team's best player and for how long?
I mean, it's all – we have a lot of guys who can really guard on the ball. So it ends up being kind of situational. I'm not going to start the game probably with that matchup just because the risk of foul trouble is, putting him in that much of harm's way. So it's really kind of game to game.
Is it his physicality? Is that something that maybe like even some of the better defenders have a hard time mimicking, I guess, is the way he really gets into people?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that we're overly physical on the ball. I think Nikhil does a good job being physical. Mike's physical through a lot of screens. Nikhil's, Jaden uses length and kind of angles more than that. But, yeah, for sure, it's our most physical on-ball defender.
Chris, the last two nights when Naz has checked in, he's kind of given you a spark immediately. Where did you see that come from tonight?
Yeah, I was, being shot ready. They were heavy helping off of him in the paint, and we did a really good job of moving the ball and finding him. It all started with our guards cutting and driving. And most of that was kind of a kick-out scenario, making the right play. He actually, I thought, set the tone because early on he came in, he found Nikhil. I think it was in the right corner for a wide-open corner three, getting downhill, just kind of making a play in a crowd, which is what we needed to do at that point in time. And then, he was able to benefit from it himself.
Rudy's been one of, if not your most consistent players this season. Didn't have that impact tonight. How much of that was back-to-back versus not having maybe the matchup for him?
I mean, I think when I took Rudy out of the game, I didn't intend to not finish with him, but as we've seen, and that team was rolling, really in a good rhythm both offensively and defensively. I felt like spreading the floor was important offensively as much as anything else. To be able to keep scoring, I felt we had to keep scoring. I don't know how much he did play a lot last night, almost 40 minutes. But he, I'm not worried about it. So, yeah.
Seemed like putting Ant on Triple J flipped his mindset on offense too. He became a lot more decisive, and I mean, it didn't seem like he was waiting and probing and everything. It seemed like, I mean, is it the kind of thing where his attitude kind of extends both sides of the court? You just have to lock him in somehow, however it works?
Sometimes it's like that, yeah. Sometimes for sure he's, needs a catalyst. We know how he is. He kind of feeds himself when he gets going a little bit. He took the challenge defensively. We've seen him do that before with other guys, and then get some runouts, get to the open floor. I think early on in the game he was a little frustrated the way that they were just denying him everywhere. Then he did a great job of cutting and just kind of making the game a little bit easier for himself right there, whether he cut and got the ball or cut and didn't get the ball. Still kind of loosened up the defense because they had to respect that. So
leads into what I was going to ask, which is the kind of the adjustments you made? Because it did look like he was getting frustrated, especially in that first quarter with just how much they were overplaying him. Was part of that too, trying to open up the lane so we had room to cut in the second half?
Well, I mean, they were at times they were denying him, and they weren't guarding some of our bigs out there, whether it be Rudy or Nas. At times they weren't guarding those guys. They tried to deny Cat everywhere. And Rudy and Nas kept trying to screen for Ant, and we don't need that screen. I mean, he's going to be open on the cut, so we're actually taking two to the ball, two away from the ball, and where they were able to play one. And so once we looked at it at halftime, we just kind of opened up the floor for all kinds of cutting. Yeah. So
Jaden had a nice game tonight. 3 blocks, 12 points. Had that 8-second violation as well.
Huge.
Yeah, kind of just how active was he?
It was great. Huge return to form game for Jaden. I think wasn't really involved in the offense for a long period of the middle of the game there, and just kind of how it went. But he stuck in it, made a lot of great plays defensively. The 8-second call was awesome. It was kind of we needed it at that point in time. I mean, the kind of game was still in the balance at that point. So I'm really proud of him. He's been trying to kind of find his rhythm back and look like the Jaden of old. So,
talked before the game about how important a fast start was going to be. What did the first 3 minutes tell you about the rest of the game and what your job was going to be?
I mean, the first three. I mean, it's I think 12-0 start for them. And you can see we didn't have a ton of juice with the way that they were going to guard us. They were going to force us to put the work in offensively. I just kind of knew it was going to be like that, and just wasn't losing my mind. We tightened the game up by the end of the first quarter, and it was fine. But guys found a way, back to back. A lot of guys played heavy minutes last night. It was a really good win for us.